Portugal, the small nation with an ocean-sized legacy. At the very edge of Europe, where the land runs out and the sea begins, lies a country that has always lived in dialogue with the Atlantic. Portugal doesn't just border the ocean, it breathes it, dreams it, and sails it. For centuries, the Portuguese have treated the Atlantic not as a barrier, but as an invitation. This is the nation that turned its back on continental rivalries and looked outward, discovering new worlds. A small rectangle of land on the Iberian Peninsula, yes, but with a legacy stretching across continents and oceans. A geography of opportunity. Portugal is strategically placed. To the east, Spain surrounds it on three sides, but to the west lies an infinite horizon. The country may look modest on the map, yet it holds the westernmost point of continental Europe, Cabo de Roca, where cliffs plunge dramatically into the sea. Even further out, in the middle of the Atlantic, Portugal commands two island groups, the Azores and Madeira. These lush volcanic archipelagos don't just expand Portugal's beauty, they extend its reach, giving it one of the largest maritime zones in the world. Lisbon, the capital, rises like an amphitheater over the Tagus River, a city of trams, hills, and tiled facades. It has long been the nation's cultural and economic heart, hosting explorers, merchants, and kings. Porto, in the north, mirrors Lisbon's grandeur with its colorful waterfront and bridges, but adds its own proud legacy, the world-famous port wine. Down south, the Algarve attracts sunseekers with golden beaches, hidden coves, and limestone cliffs that glow at sunset. Even small corners of Portugal hide wonders, Sintra, with its fairy-tale palaces, Monsanto, a village built around massive granite boulders, and tiny islands like the Savage Islands, officially Portuguese and fiercely guarded, despite being closer to Spain's Canaries. Land of explorers. It was here, in the 15th century, that a new chapter of human history began. While other European kingdoms were busy fighting each other, Portugal invested in ships and knowledge. Under the vision of Prince Henry the Navigator, Portugal pioneered the art of long-distance sailing. The Portuguese developed advanced caravels and perfected nautical cartography. One by one, they pushed past the known world, reaching Madeira and the Azores, rounding Africa's Cape of Good Hope, and sailing across to Brazil. Vasco da Gama opened a sea route to India, bringing spices that would enrich Europe. Ferdinand Magellan, sailing under Spain but born Portuguese, became the first to circumnavigate the globe. For a brief but dazzling moment, Portugal ruled a maritime empire that spanned from South America to Africa, from India to East Asia. Lisbon became one of the richest cities in Europe, flooded with gold, spices, and exotic goods. Yet this empire was fragile. Unlike Spain, Portugal rarely ventured inland, its colonies were coastal trading posts, vulnerable to rivals. Over time, many fell to the Dutch, the British, or were sold off. By the 19th century, Portugal's global empire had crumbled, except for Brazil, Angola, Mozambique, and a handful of smaller territories. Still, its cultural footprint remains enormous, in language, food, religion, and tradition. Today, Portuguese is the sixth most spoken language in the world, with more than 260 million speakers, over 30 times Portugal's own population. A land shaped by nature. On the mainland, Portugal's geography is as diverse as its culture. The north is green and mountainous, crowned by Serra da Estrela, home to Torre, the highest mainland peak. The south, especially the Alentejo and Algarve, is flatter, drier, and sunnier, a land of olive groves, cork forests, and vineyards. The nation is watered by three major rivers, the Douro, cutting through vineyard valleys before emptying into Porto, the Tagus, which flows through Lisbon, and the Guadiana, which doubles as part of the border with Spain. Portugal's largest artificial lake, Alquiva, is a reservoir so vast it looks like an inland sea. The Azores are something else entirely, 9 volcanic islands scattered across the mid-Atlantic, famous for their lush pastures, crater lakes, and geothermal springs. Mount Pico, Portugal's highest point, towers 2,351 meters above sea level. The Azores are also one of the only places in Europe where tea is grown naturally. Madeira, meanwhile, is a paradise of subtropical forests, gardens, and dramatic cliffs, home to the UNESCO-protected Loure Silva forest. But nature here is not always gentle. Portugal sits near tectonic plate boundaries, which is why earthquakes and volcanic activity have shaped its history. The Lisbon earthquake of 1755, followed by a massive tsunami and fires, devastated the capital and shocked Europe, inspiring early studies in seismology and reshaping Enlightenment thought. Food, wine, and cork. If there is one word every visitor remembers, it is bacalhau, salted cod. It is said there are more than 365 recipes for bacalhau in Portugal, one for every day of the year. Curiously, cod isn't caught in Portuguese waters, it's imported from the North Atlantic, yet it has become the national dish. Other staples include caldo verde, green soup with kale and sausage, francesinha, a decadent sandwich layered with meat, cheese, and sauce, and pastéis de nata, the irresistible custard tarts dusted with cinnamon. And of course, seafood dominates, sardines grilled fresh during festivals, octopus prepared in countless ways, barnacles, clams, and more. Portugal is one of the top seafood consumers in the world. Wine is equally central. From the sweet, fortified port of the Douro Valley, to the crisp Vinho Verde of the north, to the robust reds of the Alentejo and the unique Madeira wines, Portugal's vineyards are world-renowned. And let's not forget cork. Portugal produces over half of the world's supply. It's not just for wine stoppers, cork here becomes shoes, bags, wallets, even furniture. Culture and identity. Portugal is a tapestry woven from many threads. Celts, Romans, Visigoths, Moors, and even Vikings left their marks. Roman ruins still stand in Evora, Moorish castles crown the hills, and Viking raids once tested coastal defenses. Over time, these influences fused into something distinctly Portuguese. One symbol of identity is saudade, a word untranslatable in its depth, describing a nostalgic longing, a love for something absent yet cherished. It finds its purest voice in fado, Portugal's mournful but beautiful music, sung with passion in dim taverns, often accompanied by the 12-string Portuguese guitar. Festivals light up the calendar. June celebrates the feast of the popular saints, with Lisbon honoring Saint Anthony, Porto celebrating Saint John, and Braga venerating Saint Peter. Streets fill with decorations, grilled sardines, and music. In smaller towns, ancient Celtic-inspired rituals survive, such as the masked Carnival of Lazarum. Portuguese architecture is equally distinct. The Manueline style, rich with maritime motifs like ropes, anchors, and sea creatures, decorates 16th-century churches and monasteries. Azulejos, blue ceramic tiles, cover walls, telling stories in art and color. Even modern street artists, like Bordello II, continue the tradition, recycling trash into massive animal sculptures. Portugal and the world. Though small, Portugal's global ties are immense. Its alliance with England, dating back to 1373, is the oldest in the world. With Brazil, Portugal shares a unique bond. Brazil may have grown into a giant, but the two remain cultural siblings. In Africa, Angola and Mozambique maintain close ties, with migration and trade linking both sides of the Atlantic. Even Japan remembers Portugal as its first European contact, introducing firearms, Christianity, and even tempera. The word arigato, many argue, comes from the Portuguese obrigado, thank you. In Macau, Portuguese influence remains visible in language, food, and street names. Conclusion. Portugal is proof that size does not define influence. With just over 10 million people, it has shaped the world through exploration, language, culture, and innovation. From the cliffs of Cabo de Roca to the volcanic peaks of the Azores, from Lisbon's trams to Porto's cellars, from saudade in song to sardines on the grill, Portugal is a land of beauty and depth. It is the little sailor that once ruled the seas, and though its empire has long faded, its legacy endures, alive in every Portuguese word spoken across Brazil, Africa, Asia, and beyond. Portugal is not just a nation, it is a story written in waves, winds, and wandering hearts.